Flora, welcome back to my channel. Sit is debuting today with What I Want. Actually, was this a couple of days ago? Yes, it was a couple of days ago, but I'm so excited to be reacting to a new girl group to me. So without further ado, let's go ahead and see what this is all about. Ooh, pretty. I really like the background. Ooh, nice. Ooh. Oh, nice. Ooh, that was a nice transition. Ooh, this is a nice difference. Got some nice hits in the background and the snaps. I really love that backbeat. It's so nice. Pretty. So pretty. This was a really refreshing debut. I really enjoyed it. And I have to say that I want to give the company credit because you could tell that they didn't have as high of a budget as other groups do, but you can tell how much work they put into making it a high budget experience. So the fact that we had, you know, they kind of focused on the coloring of everything. I thought that was really smart. It made it feel more expensive. Also, the location wise, I really love that opening shot. Really, really beautiful. But also just like utilizing the spaces they were in. So in that first kind of beginning scene, they're kind of in the house, and I think that was really smart. And then they moved into the outdoor shots. And then even when they had like dance shots, they did a good job of editing between different lighting. So rather than doing several different locations, you know, they were all in the same location, but they played around with lighting. And so it made it a more fun visual experience. So I really have to give them kudos for that. I think that was really nice. The song itself reminds me so much of third gen. Like, this reminds me of old school K-pop. and just really having a nice, like, bright feeling to it. I especially loved the electronic background that happened throughout, and it did different things, you know, at different points in the song, which I just thought really pulled everything together. The girls sounded great. I love how in the very beginning, it started out with less instrumentation and then slowly brought in more into that, but it played around with those dynamics. So at the beginning, it was quite quiet. And then it, you know, going a little bit more into the verse, there was a little more instrumentation, but then in the pre-chorus, it pulled away again. So it's kind of like, what's going to happen? What's going to come next? And I love that. And there was a little bit of like a call and response with a little bit of harmony at the end. I always love seeing that from a new group, shows their ability and singing capabilities. And then I love how each time there was a pause before going into the chorus. And I noticed later that they did that with a rap. And like just a couple of lines of that, I thought that was really, really smart. And in the chorus, I noticed how the vocal line went up. I thought that was also good because before then it, you know, it felt like in the melodic line, it was, you know, doing, you know, an up and down kind of motion. And when it went into this, it kind of gave you like an anticipation of what was going to come next. So I love that aspect. The transition going into the second verse, I love how they showed that was one of the instances where it was like in the dark. It kind of showed their, you know, silhouettes a little bit. And then just like having that, again, a different kind of feeling when you're experiencing the choreography. So I enjoyed that. And I especially love the edits between there for that whole second verse because it was more performance based. So we got to see the choreography, but they didn't just leave the shot in one area. They did, that dark scene, and then they have the white background, and then they have that with the house in the background. I just thought that it was really well edited there. And then again in the pre-chorus there was like some hits and snaps that were happening in the drums, which was really nice because in contrast to the first pre-chorus that they did, there was more instrumentation. So even though it was still less than the chorus and the verses, there was a little more there. So it separated those and differentiated that. So I really enjoyed that. Again, it had that little pause with the rap going into the chorus. And then the bridge, I really loved. I'm wondering if it's a vibraphone, which is like a mallet instrument that you use a pedal on, because it was just really cool. I really enjoyed that aspect going into a high note, which like that's what when I was like, oh, this is definitely like third gen vibes, because just like we don't get those very often anymore. And then going back into that final chorus, and again they did that big shot in the greenery, and I just thought this was really, like I said, a good debut, very refreshing. I really, really enjoyed it. So I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on this. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What was your favorite part in this MV or in the song itself? For me, I really enjoyed those transitional aspects. I thought it gave a lot of drama to the song, made you anticipate what was going to come next. I also really loved how they filmed it, especially with the coloring. At the very beginning, it was very bright and beautiful, and kind of like the undertones were very warm, and then I like how they continued that throughout the rest of the MV. So tell me your thoughts down below. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.